This is Jessie, and you're listening to the Curious Cabinet Podcast. Today, we're diving into one of the most haunting, unsolved cases in modern history. A story that weaves through the sacred halls of the Vatican, the gritty underworld of Rome, and a web of conspiracies that refuse to die. This is the story of Emanuela Orlandi, a 15-year-old girl who vanished on June 22, 1983, after a music lesson in Rome. Her disappearance has sparked theories ranging from international terrorism to Mafia plots, Vatican cover-ups, and even whispers of satanic rituals. What happened to Emanuela? And how, after 42 years, has this not been solved? Let's step into the mystery of the Vatican Girl. A quick heads up, because this episode does touch on some sensitive topics, including allegations of abuse, institutional secrecy, and some really far out conspiracies. So if that's not your thing, feel free to skip this one and check it out next week's podcast. But for everyone else, let's start. It's June 1983, and Rome is alive with the sound of summer. Vespas weave through cobblestone streets, tourists snap photos of the Pantheon, and church bells echo in the distance. In the heart of the Vatican City, a 36-acre sovereign state encircled by Rome, lives Emanuela Orlandi, a 15-year-old with dark eyes and a shy smile. She's the daughter of Ercole Orlandi, a lay employee in the prefecture of the pontifical household, a role that places him close to the Pope's inner circle. I'm sorry if I butchered the pronunciation too. But if you didn't know what a lay employee is, it's a person who works for a religious organization but is not part of the clergy or religious leadership, like he does administrative work or other support roles. This makes Emanuela a rare figure, a Vatican citizen living within the walls of the Holy See. Her brother Pietro later described their life as idyllic, with access to the Vatican gardens and a sense of security could match. Emanuela loves music. She plays the flute and attends lessons at the Pontifical Institute of Sacred Music in Piazza Sant'Apollinare. Sorry, I'm really bad at pronouncing. But that's just outside the Vatican. On June 22nd, 1983, she left her family's apartment for one of these lessons, carrying her flute and wearing a simple outfit. She calls her sister from a payphone, mentioning a strange encounter. A man had approached her, offering her a job, handing out flyers for a fashion show. It's the last time her family hears her voice, because Emanuela never returned home. When Emanuela doesn't come back that evening, her father, Ercole, contacts the music school. They dismiss it, saying that she's probably out with friends. But Ercole knows better. Emanuela isn't the type to run off. He goes to the police, who tell him to wait 24 hours to file a report. The next day, Emanuela's face is on posters across Rome, her dark eyes pleading for answers. The disappearance of a Vatican citizen is a bombshell. This isn't just a missing teen case, it's a scandal that draws global attention. On July 3rd, 1983, Pope John Paul II made a rare public appeal during his Sunday Angelus prayer, urging anyone with information about Emanuela to come forward. This is huge. The Pope himself is speaking out, but it signals maybe something bigger at play. Soon after, the Orlandi family receives cryptic phone calls. One caller, dubbed the American for his accent, claims Emanuela is being held hostage. His demand? The release of Mehmet Ali Agca, a Turkish man who tried to assassinate Pope John Paul II in 1981. Agca was part of the Grey Wolves, a nationalist group, and his case was a geopolitical lightning rod. The caller sets a deadline: free Agca by July 20th, or Emanuela dies. The deadline passes. No Emanuela, no further contact. But let's hit pause for a second. The terrorism angle is dramatic, like something out of a Cold War thriller, but it doesn't hold up. Italian journalist Pino Nicotri, who investigated the case for years, called it a smokescreen. No evidence links Emanuela or Agca to the Grey Wolves. No evidence links Emanuela to Agca or the Grey Wolves. So why is this narrative being pushed? Some believe this narrative was pushed because of what actually happened, and it happened much closer to home. The Vatican's response only deepens the mystery. On December 24th, 1983, Pope John Paul II visits the Orlandi family and calls Emanuela's case a case of international terrorism. But after this, the Vatican goes quiet. Emanuela's brother Pietro later said the Pope's words were followed by absolute silence. The Vatican, a sovereign state with its own police and archives, seemed to pull back. If they believed this was terrorism, why not cooperate fully? Is it because they knew something that they weren't sharing? Over the years, Emanuela's case has become more of a maze of theories than anything else. Each is more tangled than the last. So let's start with the most prominent one, which would be the Mafia connection. In the 1980s, Rome was a playground for the Banda della Magliana, a ruthless criminal syndicate. One theory ties Emanuela's disappearance to the Vatican Bank, which was caught in a massive scandal involving money laundering and ties to organized crime. The bank, officially called the Institute of the Works of Religion, was linked to the collapse of Banco Ambrosiano in 1982, a scandal involving $1.3 billion in missing funds. That's a lot of money from 1982. $1.3 billion? Wow. Some speculate Emanuela was kidnapped as leverage to pressure the Vatican into repaying debts or covering up corruption. In 2012, a man named Marcello Neroni, linked to the Banda, claimed Emanuela was taken on orders from someone inside of the Vatican to hush up a sex scandal. But Neroni's story lacks hard evidence, and the Mafia theory remains speculative. Then there's the sex scandal theory, which kind of hits you like a gut punch. In 2016, a book called Atto di Dolore by Tommaso Nelli includes a bombshell. A friend of Emanuela's, speaking anonymously, said that a week before her disappearance, Emanuela confided she'd been assaulted by someone close to the Pope in the Vatican gardens. This story resurfaces in the 2022 Netflix documentary Vatican Girl, though the friend's timeline shifts kind of slightly, claiming the incident happened days before. Was Emanuela targeted to silence her about the abuse within the Vatican? I mean, the theory resonates because of the Catholic Church history of covering up abuse, which was rampant in the 1980s. Pietro Orlandi, Emanuela's brother, leans toward this explanation, saying in the documentary, "When you know how certain things happen in that environment, maybe she was just put in that situation." But it hinges on one anonymous testimony with no documents or corroboration to back it up. Now, let's venture into the speculative realm. Theories that push the boundaries of belief but have lingered in the public imagination. Fair warning, these are just kind of long shots with little to no evidence. but they show how desperate people are for answers. First up, the Satanic cult theory. In the 1980s, Italy was gripped by moral panic over alleged satanic groups, and some fringe voices claimed Emanuela was abducted as part of a ritual linked to secret societies within or near the Vatican. This idea surfaced in online forums and was fueled by a 2018 claim from an anonymous source who suggested Emanuela's disappearance was tied to occult practices. There's zero evidence for this. No documents, no witnesses, just pure speculation. But it persists because the Vatican's mystique invites these kinds of dark theories. Then there's the espionage angle. During the Cold War, the Vatican was a geopolitical player, mediating between East and West. Some theorists suggest Emanuela was kidnapped as part of a covert operation, perhaps by Eastern Bloc agents to pressure the Vatican over its anti-communist stance under Pope John Paul II. This theory often ties back to the Agca assassination attempt, with claims that Soviet or Bulgarian operatives were involved. Again, no concrete evidence supports this, and it feels like a stretch given Emanuela's ordinary life. Another grim theory, which I always think about in these cases, is human trafficking. Some speculate Emanuela was lured by the fashion show job offer only to be trafficked into a criminal network. This idea gained traction after a 1985 police report noted similarities between Emanuela's case and other disappearances of young girls in Rome. Could she have been targeted by a trafficking ring operating under the guise of legitimate work? It's possible, but there is also no proof tying her to such a network. Finally, there's Marco Accetti, a self-proclaimed agent who in 2013 claimed he was part of a Vatican plot to kidnap Emanuela to protect the church's interests. He produced a flute he said was hers, but DNA tests found nothing, and her music teacher confirmed it wasn't her brand. Accetti also provided accurate details on Mirella Gregory, another Rome teen who vanished a month before in May. Was he a liar, or did he really have inside knowledge? Investigators lean toward the latter, but his story keeps the case in the headlines. This case is just a puzzle with too many pieces that don't fit. The Vatican is a fortress, literally and figuratively. As a sovereign state, they control their archives, their police, their narrative, and in 1983, they pushed the terrorism angle, but when that fizzled, they kind of clammed up. Some theorists say that the Vatican has documents they've never shared, possibly detailing Emanuela's last movements. In 2023, they opened an investigation, but it kind of seemed more like a PR stunt than, and just after the decades of pressure from Pietro Orlandi. But Pietro does keep this fight alive. The 2025 document leaks about a possible ransom are intriguing, but the Vatican's still holding the cards. Until they open their archives to the public, we are stuck in the dark. The investigation into Emanuela's disappearance has been a roller coaster. In 2019, the Vatican opened 2 tombs in the, I'm going to butcher this, Teutonic Cemetery after an anonymous tip claimed that Emanuela's remains were in there. The tombs are meant to hold 19th century princesses. They were empty, but not just of Emanuel, but of anybody. Then thousands of bones were found under a Vatican building, but none matched her DNA. So lots of just weird stuff. In 1993, Cardinal Silvio Audi claimed he overheard Vatican guard arms say they saw Emanuela leave in a luxury car the night that she disappeared, only to return briefly before leaving again. Audi couldn't name the guard arms, and the lead went cold. But was it a clue or just another misdirection? The case also is linked to Mirella Gregory, a 15-year-old who vanished in Rome a month before Emanuela. Some believe the cases are connected, possibly tied to the same criminal network or Vatican secrets. But like Emanuela's case, Mirella's remains unsolved. In 2025, the documents resurfaced in an Italian state archive, suggesting that the Vatican paid a ransom in 1983, despite denying it. The memos claim Emanuela Orlandi had very important information and that Emanuela was sold to another group. Pietro disputes some details, like the mention of a Bulgarian exile named Theodore Hilberov. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, so I apologize if I'm not. But he's calling it just a complete fabrication because they don't want to tell you what the truth is. Pietro Orlandi has spent 42 years fighting for answers. He's organized protests, shared audio implicating Vatican figures, and even accused Pope John Paul II of inappropriate behavior based on a mobster's claims, a move that sparked controversy. His guilt drives him. On the day Emanuela vanished, she asked him for a ride to her lesson, but he refused because of the heat. It haunts him. So what really is the truth? Is it the terrorism theory, Agca and the Grey Wolves? But that kind of crumbles under scrutiny. No evidence ties Emanuela to international plots, and the American calls seem like a deliberate misdirection. The Mafia theory is compelling, but rests on hearsay and circumstantial evidence linking the Vatican banks. The sex scandal theory is the most disturbing given the church's history, but it's built on one anonymous testimony. The speculative theories, satanic cults, espionage, trafficking, but they don't have any substantial evidence to go off of for them. They thrive because of the Vatican's secrecy. It creates this void filled with imagination that we just don't know what happened. The establishment narrative pushed early on in the Vatican points to external forces like terrorism, but that definitely feels like a deflection. The Vatican's silence, their sovereign status, and their delayed investigation scream cover-up. Whether it's abuse, financial corruption, or something else, the truth likely lies within those walls. As Pietro said in Vatican Girl, in the Vatican, they know the truth. Emanuela Orlandi's disappearance is a wound that just won't heal. For her family, it's a lifelong crusade. For us, it's just a reminder that power can shield secrets, even from the desperate. As of July 2025, the Vatican's investigation continues and new leads keep emerging. But will we ever really know what happened to Emanuela? I hope so, for her family's sake. If you have theories or you want to share your thoughts, leave a comment below. Don't forget to find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And let me know if you have any requests of a case you'd like me to cover. Until next week.